Hello guys, today we will be making a 6x6 L-shaped desktop. Let's jump right into it. Here's the list of the materials that I use for this project. Keep in mind that the list might change depending on the dimension of your project. Also the tools that I use for this project as well. Feel free to pause at any moment to go over the list. Here I lay the lumber on the floor to get a feel for it. I'm also looking for any imperfections, anything that might be wrong with the lumber. Okay guys, here we're going to start marking our boards to 6 feet in length. Once we completed that to all 6 of our boards, we're going to go back and grab the speed square and start making the line that we'll be following with our skill saw. Now that we have made all the marks on the boards, it's time to cut our boards to the right size and length. Also, make sure that when making the cuts you are pressing firmly on the board and you are keeping your skill saw straight and somewhat on a fast pace while making the cut. This is to avoid any crooked cuts. Now that I have made the last cut, I go ahead and lay the boards on the floor, and I'm looking for the smoothest side so I could use as a face of my table. Once I decided that this was going to be the one, I go ahead and flip the boards over so I could go ahead and start making the cuts for my support beams. I will be using two 2x4s for the bottom of the table as my support. I will be cutting 5 pieces. 4 of them will be cut into 22 inches in length and the 5th piece into 26 inches of length. Also, I will be doing bevel cuts in each end. Now that I finished doing the bevel cuts on the 2x4s, I will go ahead and place them on top of the 2x8s as support. I left 2 feet of space in between each 2x4. Here I'm using all-purpose clamps to keep the 2x8s tight as possible and prevent them from moving when I'm screwing in my support 2x4s. Once they are clamped into place, I go ahead and screw in my supports with 2.5-inch screws. this step of the project, which is the sanding part, I will be breaking it up into 3 parts. The first part will be using an 80 grit sandpaper to remove the surface. The second part, I will be using 150 grit sandpaper to give it a very fine finish. And lastly, I will be using a 220 grit sandpaper to give it an ultra fine final finish look, meaning making it as smooth as possible. Also guys, right here where the two sides of the table meet, I added extra 2x4 support just to reinforce the table from being flimsy. Now that I have finished sanding down the table, it is time to prepare for the wood stain. Here we're using an old rag to dust it. I decided to go with the dark color. The color I'm using here is ebony. And I'm also using a 6-inch roller. This is optional. You could use a brush, a rag. But in this case, we wanted to get a dark color, so we decided to go with the roller. After 2 hours of drying time, it was time for us to add our crystal clear semi-gloss. We did 2 passes and we gave it about an hour of dry time in between each pass. are some more clips of our final product. It was a 6x6 L-shaped desktop. Please like and subscribe and comment below. I appreciate for sticking around in my first video. And I will see you guys in the next project.